Hello, welcome back to another episode of our Sahaj Golden Writer podcast. I'm Rohan, joining here from London. With me is Auntie Felicity and Brother Rishi, joining us from the US. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Uncle Louis, and he'll be joining by his wife, Auntie Carol. They're going to talk about William Blake's book, the inspirations behind the paintings, how Blake is related to Sahaj, and the teachings and everything that were given to them by mother. And so it's going to be an interesting one. So stay tuned, and we're going to just add Uncle Louis. Hello, hello, Uncle. Hello,
Hi there.
Auntie.
Jai Shri
Jai
Mataji.
Shri
Jai
Mataji.
Shri
Welcome,
Mataji.
welcome to you.
So excited. For this part one, we're going to talk about the three books, the Prophecies, Virgil, and the Eclogue, and maybe Comus today as well. We'll see. And we're very looking forward to hearing your personal experiences with Shri Mataji when she talked with you about the importance of Blake and his prophecies to all of us as yogis and the general public. So welcome.
Absolutely.
And if you'd like to start
Thank
with the
you.
very first event where you were there present when Shrimataji was talking about Blake, we are all ears.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know why, but Shri Mataji spoke quite a lot about William Blake to me and also to my wife. And it's partly because we needed it. Um, as Shri Mataji explained, William Blake is a great devotee of Sri Mahakali. And Sri Mahakali is the aspect that we need the most when there is a left side catch, or left side imbalance or something like this. So I
Mhm.
needed very much to pay attention to Sri Mahakali. And Sri Mataji keeps saying this in her talks that William Blake is a great devotee of Sri Mahakali, is the top devotee of Sri
Mhm.
Mahakali. And to Carol, Mother said something very similar that erroneous chance was to worship Sri Mahavira. But Sri Mahavira, according to Mother, is the same person as Bhairava, the same person as William Blake. There's no difference. So we both received the same instruction from Mother to try and improve that side in us.
Mhm.
And when I first came across William Blake, which was before Sahaja Yoga, 2 years before, I felt a tremendous help from William Blake, immediately.
Wow.
And so from day one, I felt William Blake was very important to me within Sahaja Yoga, and Mother was also encouraging that side.
Mhm.
Sri Mataji told me to write a letter
Mhm.
this
Yeah.
time. She told me cut some little paintings of William Blake from my books, and glued them to the newsletter. And later, Sri Mataji told me she enjoyed what I wrote about William Blake.
Wow.
Later, I wrote yet another newsletter, this time from Liverpool. And
Mhm.
again, I put something about William Blake and some paintings
Yeah.
of Blake and something about Mahavira. And again, Sri Mataji told me that she liked what I had written about William Blake, although it was nothing special, you see.
So when
So,
was this? When was this? In the 80s?
1982 was
1982.
when Mother told me to write.
And
And
you were
Right.
so,
already 2 years in Sahaj.
no, not, I had only just been, I first met Sri Mataji through the photo in 1981. So,
All right. All right.
and then
Mhm.
met Sri Mataji in person only in 1982 when Mother came to Portugal. I had my
Mhm.
chance.
All right.
And so this was 1982. She told me to write, and she told me to write
Mm.
about Sahaja Yoga as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
In those days, she was not telling me to write about William Blake, but to write about Sahaja Yoga. She
Mhm.
kept saying that to me.
Yeah. And
And
before that, you'd
so,
already like seen Blake and like his poetry and everything, his paintings and
yes,
everything.
so
All right.
Mother mentioned William Blake a lot. And then I was living at Shelsham Road at one time. This is a place very much related to William Blake because William
Yeah.
Blake prophesied about that location. So
Mm.
again, that brought the subject a lot. Mother kept talking about William Blake.
Yeah.
So I had no idea Sri Mataji was going to ask me to write about William Blake because she told me to write about Sahaja Yoga. She'd never said it was William Blake in those days.
Mm.
So, although Mother kept talking about William Blake, I wasn't taking notes. If I knew, oh my goodness, this is what I have to write about, it would be like homework. I would be writing it down and taking
Yeah. Yeah.
being very careful
It's
of
a
that.
big
But
job.
Mother told me to write about Sahaja Yoga. She did not say the subject was going to be William Blake, not at that point in time. And so we were doing also transcriptions of Shri Mataji. Mother was very pleased with that,
Mm-hmm.
but we did some little transcriptions, and Mother cooperated with that also, and she corrected them and made suggestions, made some improvements. So there was a bit of writing going on, and but Mother kept saying, "No, you should write about Sahaja Yoga." And they
Mm.
used to say, "But am I not doing that because I'm transcribing your talks?" No, no, that's something else.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but it's only much later that she told me to write about William Blake. So
Ah,
When was
then
that?
when was
that
When
that?
was
was
that?
around 1980. Actually, the camps that must have been 1997, 19. I think
1996.
maybe around 1997,
Be later.
All right.
or even later,
Earlier.
maybe a little earlier, a year or two earlier. Mother told me, "All
Mm-hmm.
right, the subject you should write is William Blake,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and remember to explain how much he detested the rationality. He
Mm-hmm.
was
Yeah,
totally
yeah,
opposed to rationality. So she gave me a subject to write at last, and even a topic, to use that aspect of Blake not being interested in rationality, more
yeah.
the
So,
imagination and spirituality rather than the rationality.
so
So
when we talked together before, you mentioned 1985 Hammersmith, I think it was.
yes, that was another special event because on that occasion, Sri Mataji gave a public program totally dedicated to William Blake. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
on William Blake's birthday, the 28th of November 1985. Sri Mataji gave a
Mm.
program which was Sahaja Yoga and William Blake. So it was
Yeah,
all
yeah.
about William Blake. There was
Wow.
also an exhibition about William Blake. And, well, there was an exhibition about St. George and Sahaja Yoga.
Mm.
But St. George is the same person as William Blake, according to
Right.
Mother. So
Yeah.
again, this was about William Blake. And
Mm-hmm.
Mother saw the exhibition, and then she said, "I would like to see more exhibitions like this. You see."
Mm.
So that exhibition had been written by Chris Creeves about St. George and
Ah,
Sahaj
okay.
Yoga. But
Ah.
people didn't know. People didn't know exactly what Mother meant when she said, "I would like to see more exhibitions like this." Did she mean about Sahaja Yoga or about William Blake specifically? So, but Romanian Sahaja Yogis, they felt it means any exhibition about Sahaja Yoga. So they organized a special compilation of miraculous photographs of Sri Mataji. So from there, Sri Mataji, in fact, actually asked at the Albert Hall to have a slideshow of her miraculous photographs. This was
Mhm.
something Gregoire then gave a little explanation about those miraculous photographs of Mother. So Mother was interested to have exhibitions, slideshows. Oh, you see, so this idea of the slideshows came from Sri Mataji, no
Yeah.
doubt. And there was one occasion where Sri Mataji gave a big master class about William Blake, and she picked up a book of paintings of William Blake, and
Yeah.
she went through each and every painting, showing us the Sahaj meaning of those paintings.
Wow.
According to Mother, each painting of William Blake has a Sahaj meaning. Now, we have heard
Mm.
Mother say many times that
Mhm.
the words of William Blake, the poems, everything is about Sahaj Yoga.
Mm.
Everything Blake was saying was about Sahaj Yoga. But then on that occasion, Sri Mataji was demonstrating the same applies to Blake's paintings. Each and every painting in that book, had something to do with Sahaja Yoga. And Sri Mataji was able to explain why this is related to Sahaja Yoga, each and every painting.
Yeah.
So it was quite an extraordinary, master class
Mhm.
Mother gave.
And this
And
was where? Where was she?
this
In
was at Brompton Square, 1984.
Mm.
And then,
you said
what was the
you mentioned that it was like sitting on a coffee table, like a coffee table book they make of these paintings, and she just spontaneously picked it up, and there was a group of you yogis in the room that she was sharing this
Yes,
knowledge.
each and every painting, Mother would look at the painting very carefully, and then she would close the eyes, and she would go into like a special dimension of enjoyment of the painting, and
Mm.
then and then only she would turn the book to us, having looked at the painting herself before. But it was incredible seeing Mother's face looking at the painting, and she was just saying things like "Wow, wow, wow, amazing, tremendous vibrations." And the moment she turned the book for us to see the painting, it was like waves of vibration. It was like incredible. You hadn't felt vibration so strong like this. Each and
Mhm.
every painting, and Mother's face, itself was. We could see Mother going to deep meditation, looking at every painting. It was unforgettable, that event. On that occasion, Mother said so many things. I didn't know
Mhm.
Mother wanted me to write about William Blake, so I didn't write it down. I didn't take notes.
Yeah, yeah.
But never mind. At least I still remember certain things she said.
Mm,
What did she
mm,
And
say? Can you tell us certain things?
certain things. I mean, we have that whole exhibition called "The Glimpses of Sahaja Yoga," that is
right.
based on that particular event. Some other
Mhm.
said things like. William Blake is fantastic when it comes to painting Christ. This is one of his specialties. How he paints
Mm.
Christ, how he
Mhm.
paints the Virgin Mary, how he
Ah.
paints the baby Jesus. This is one of Blake's specialties.
Mhm.
And this was the inspiration for putting together an exhibition about the life of Christ, as shown by the paintings of William Blake. So this is an idea that's not mine. It came from Mother. Also, when we rediscovered the location of William Blake's grave, that was another idea from Mother, but when she said that,
Mhm.
the grave of
Yeah.
William Blake should be better respected, better celebrated. If it
Mhm.
was in India, they would do something nice about William Blake at his grave. So
Mhm.
all those things I did about William Blake, it's all inspired by Mother. So that's just an example. Then on another occasion, I was lucky to be invited to go with Mother to the museum, to the Tate Gallery, to see paintings of William Blake. And again, on this occasion, Shri Mataji read the curator notes for each and every painting. And she put the hands out like this towards each and every painting to check the vibrations. And
Ah.
then she told us the same. Can you check? Can you feel the vibrations? I mean, this is absolutely amazing. The
Mhm.
vibrations are tremendous, absolutely tremendous, incredible. Can you feel this? There was a few of us there, and yes, we could all feel it. We couldn't believe it. How come today we can feel such strong vibrations? In fact, I was almost shocked, because it
Mhm.
was too much, it was too strong, and there was a crowd of people at the museum, and all the same, it made no difference. It was really unforgettable experience of. We felt transported to another dimension, seeing Mother doing it. The enthusiasm of Mother was contagious. The way Mother admires, and enjoys the paintings of William Blake. For us, this was the great experience, and Mother
Mhm.
proving to us that every painting of William Blake has something to do with Sahaja Yoga. So that's what she taught on that occasion with the book, and then again at the museum.
Mhm.
So there were, some events like this where Mother, but almost every time I went to see her at Brompton Square, she would bring the subject William Blake.
Yeah.
Yes.
There
So,
was
Uncle,
that.
you wanna talk about exhibitions in 2006? Maybe let
Yes.
me show some photos, and you can tell
Yeah,
us
we have
more
pictures of
about.
those.
Yeah.
So beautiful. This
Nice.
beautiful poster.
There's this.
And there's Carol. Oh, look at that painting on the right. That's quite that we can't see it very clearly, but that's one of his very astounding paintings, isn't it?
The last judgment, yes.
The
That's
Last Judgment.
Last Judgment by William Blake, yes.
And
Lovely.
there's this one.
So this was an event primarily for the Saj Yogis, because this was an international puja. So you set
Exactly.
this up for all the overseas visitors to enjoy.
Exactly.
And this one. Uncle, tell us a bit more about this one.
Yes, I mean, this is the Book of Job, illustrated by William Blake. And here we are trying to give an explanation in the light of Sahaja Yoga, because
Mm,
Sri Mataji had asked specifically
yeah.
for us to explain Blake in the light of Sahaja Yoga. Now, because millions of books have been written about William Blake.
Mhm.
And what is of interest to us is to see to what extent this relates to Sahaja Yoga, because
Mhm.
Mother has explained many times that William Blake is a prophet of Sahaja Yoga. And
Yes.
I remember being, say, at a public program, and during the talk, there's a talk for new people, and Mother says that William Blake is a prophesied about Sahaja Yoga, when he said
Mm,
that men of God would become prophets and with powers to make other prophets. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember new people asking this question. People who had read about Blake, often they would ask the question, but where is it that Blake wrote such interesting comment that
mhm,
where is it that he prophesied about Sahaja Yoga? What are the exact words of William Blake when he said that, So this is something that it's our job to somehow bring the message. All of us as yogis need to make this information available to the new people, that yes, it's there in the books of William Blake. For
Definitely.
instance, if you go
Definitely.
to the
absolutely.
a book of William Blake called Milton, a poem, then
Mhm,
there is a very famous poem there which we sing and did those feet in ancient times,
Mhm.
mm,
So this is where you find where Blake wrote that,
yeah.
So
S-
uh,
Speaking of books,
immediately after that, so
we can start with this one.
yes, if you want the page number, let me see if I can find for you.
So this is a book about William Blake, Prophecies of Sahaja Yoga. So
And also it says Shri Mataji's residences and the men of God. It's very
Yes,
beautiful.
exactly, exactly. That
We could show the contents page.
yes, there we go.
So you can see how much how much Shri is in this book. You can see her residences. It has photographs of the houses that she lived in England, and then also it goes on to how she explained his words and what they meant. I remember in 82, no, actually much earlier than that, in Chelsham Road, it must have been 8081. And she started to talk about how that ashram, that William Blake had prophesied that this house would be bought in the Vale of Lambeth, and the men of God would live there. And she said, "This is it. This is it. We're in the ashram. We're in the house that he
Mm,
talked about." So in this book, if you move on to, you put into it, Blake, Lewis, about, you've put in maps to show the places that, go back one. So you put in maps of London at the time of Blake's life, and then pointing out the places that he's writing about in his poem that he mentions. And then if you go to the next page, 2 pages, I think, and the next one, Brompton. See, there's Brompton, where mother's residences were. He prophesies, and then you show the modern map of today and where these places relate today to his places. So it's very clearly explained in the book how mother's words and how Blake's words were prophetic, and how the physical connections between his words and the actual physical places that exist in modern times.
Yeah, in a way,
absolutely.
in a way, this book is like, it's a really, really great primer of William Blake's prophecies, but it's also a really good account of Sahaj Yoga in England and just the authors
Absolutely.
that were built. So yeah, it's incredibly, it's amazing. You guys should check it out.
Let's go back to the people. Let's go back to Uncle Lewis. I think that's good from the
right.
book.
So I was going to ask Rohan if you could, page 53 of that book, same book, page 53.
Yeah. There we go.
So here it is. So as always, Shri Mataji makes it very easy for all of us, because this is maybe the most famous thing that Blake wrote, and it's precisely there immediately after the hymn Jerusalem, "Would to God that all the Lord's people were prophets."
Hmm.
So this is the place where we find it, because some people who used to doubt, oh, I can't find it anywhere. Is it there really for sure? Did Blake ever say something like that? So there it is. But now the
Jerusalem.
question, the question may be, what has this got to do with Sahaja Yoga? Would to God that all the Lord's people were prophets. Now, Blake also wrote there the book of Numbers, which is one of the Bible books, chapter
Mhm.
11 and verse 29. So, if you go and read the book of Numbers in the Bible, in the Old Testament, you will see that this is a situation where Moses is giving en masse self realizations to 70 people at the same time, you know.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
then there's an incident by which two people that were meant to be there in the tent to receive the self realization, they did not turn up. However, they started to prophesy all the same, even though they did not turn up. So
Mhm.
someone reported this to Moses, you know, and they said, Moses, you must stop those two people. They missed the meeting, they didn't come to receive the experience, and yet they started to prophesy. But
Hmm.
Moses replied, that's all right, you know. Would to God that all the Lord's people were prophets. So when we see the context of this,
Right.
it's a prayer that we want our mass self-realization to come one day. You
Mhm.
know, right now Moses started with 70 people. You know, but now the time has come when you build Jerusalem, where we can have this en masse to everybody. So having written this wonderful hymn about building Jerusalem in England, Blake then reminds us, you know, but this requires en masse self realization, like Moses did when he gave realization to
Mhm.
70 people. Although 70 people is not enough. You know, we've seen how Mother does it to thousands and thousands at the same time. In some,
Absolutely.
in some cases, at the time, she would do it in small numbers also.
Mhm.
So, so this really is about Sahaja Yoga, and it's not hard to find, you know. So
Yeah.
it's all our responsibility, Sahaja Yoga, is to show those things to the new people because they will have questions, you know. And
Let, let's
sometimes,
let's spotlight Uncle again. Yes.
Yeah, and
So a lot.
it comes from Milton, right? The
exactly,
literature that's written by William Blake, and yeah, a lot of people read the Songs of Innocence and Experience, but not a lot of people go into Milton. And in Milton, there's a lot of these prophecies. It's such a wide work that more Sajagi should read actually.
but you see, you only need to read. This is the preface, you see. So
Yeah,
it's very easy to find. It's the first page of the
it's the
book.
first page. It's the first page.
It's the first page, you know. So it's not hard to find. You are looking
Hmm.
for the
Yeah.
most famous hymn that Blake wrote. Immediately after the hymn, there it is, you know. So
Hmm.
you know, because it comes immediately after building Jerusalem in England,
Yeah.
and that you need to do it with en masse self-realization, then it becomes very clear that we are talking about
Yeah.
Sahaja Yoga. But there's another thing in the Bible there. If you look at it, what is written there in the chapter 11 of book of Numbers, if you read the verse number 16, the Lord said to Moses, bring me 70 of Israel's elders who are known to you as leaders and officials among the people. Have them come to the tent of meeting, that they may stand there with you. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the power of the Spirit that is on you and put it on them. You see, this is
Wow.
about giving self realization. You see,
Yeah.
God says that He's coming down to the tent and take some of the power of the Spirit that is on you, Moses, you know, and put it on them. They will share the
Ah.
burden. You see, so the whole chapter, if you read, you'll understand it's totally about Sahaja Yoga, you know. It's the same type of experience, and that is why Blake wrote it immediately after
Mhm.
building Jerusalem in England. How do we build Jerusalem in England? It's with our mass self-realization.
And this
So
is
it,
what Shri Mataji she's given us, like this
yes.
amazing, amazing blessing to
So
us.
if mother says something, the proof is there, you know. It's just we need to
Yes.
look for it, you know. And
Yeah.
it's not hard to find because mother has an art of making things easy for us. This is
Mhm.
mother's specialty.
Absolutely.
So William Blake, we didn't actually mention his dates. So he was born
In
17
1757.
and he
28th of November 1757.
1757 and then he died in
27.
1827. So
Evan. He was almost 70 years old. If he had lived another 3 months, he would have been 70 years old, which is an advanced age for people at that time.
So it's quite
Yeah.
incredible, 300 years later, and almost 300 years later, and his words and his writings. And you were mentioning about Jerusalem. It's not such a well-known fact that he wrote songs and he sang and he wrote poems that he put to music as well. So it's kind of fitting that Jerusalem should have become almost a national anthem in
True.
England.
Hmm.
That's
Such
very
an
nice.
amazing, amazing thing. Like you feel tremendous vibration whenever we sing it. Whenever we recite it, it's like
Oh,
amazing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, actually, the first time we sang, so when the very first puja that we had in Shelsham Road, which
Hmm.
is which is the house that he prophesied would be
Ah,
there anymore because it's covered over, and at the end of the first puja, she had us sing Jerusalem as an arti, as the
wow.
prayer to the divine at the end of the puja, and
Yeah.
we would consistently sing this with her arti as well. And
Mm,
it was incredibly moving to be singing these words and vowing, that I will not cease from mental fight till we have built this land of Jerusalem.
absolutely.
And we weren't very many, there was like 50 or 60 of us in
Yeah.
this meditation room in the
Hmm.
living room of this house. And it felt very much, my mother was really inspiring, and to us to work hard and to fulfill her vision,
Yeah.
and also the prophecies that William Blake had
Absolutely. It was the
spoken.
beginning of the New Jerusalem. I mean,
Yes, yes.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. And so I see, you on the book it says researched by Carol and Luis Garrido.
Yeah.
So you've done a lot of research. There is, I mean, it's in this podcast, it's impossible to explain the beauty of this book and the amount of personal photos of Shri Mataji, of the house inside the interiors of the houses that she lived in London.
Yeah.
And as Rishi said, it's like a little history of the beginnings and the development of Sahaja Yoga in England. So thank you. We have to say thank you for putting together such a beautiful book. And yeah, so that was the point of the recording. One of the points was to share this book so that others may enjoy this book. We're
Yeah.
giving quick taster.
Of what's inside the book. Yeah. And I mean, it's so amazing. Uncle had put up so much work, and like everything together for us to read and get to know like everything. It's like amazing.
So the subject of the golden builders, this is something Sri Mataji mentions even to new people.
Mm,
And sometimes talking to Saj yogis from abroad, they've not visited Shelsham Road, they've not visited the mother's house at Brompton Square, they don't know where that place was, where mother was living when she first came to the UK.
mhm.
And when they hear mother say that William Blake prophesied about the first place where she lived when she came, and she also prophesied about the first ashram, and William Blake also prophesied about Mother's house at Brompton Square. These are long-term residences of Mother. People ask the question, but what is it that William Blake said that Mother was going to live in those places, or that this would be the first ashram? Is there any
Yeah.
proof?
Yeah.
People have the right to have that question. For us in England, it's quite easy because Mother explained this to us personally. Even when we met her at Shelsham Road, when we met her at the Brompton Square, Mother would again explain those things.
Yeah.
And on tape, it's there, but I think people from other countries have not seen the locations.
Mhm.
So Mother talks a lot about the golden builders, and this is something very beautiful that
Yeah.
So,
shows the
so tell
connection
us
between.
what. So let's just explain for people who've not heard what were the golden builders, or
Exactly. So the golden builders, the importance of it is that William Blake mentions the golden builders, and in the paintings a lot, and these golden builders is something very important for Blake, because Blake identifies himself with the prophet in his writings. Blake is like the prophet Los sometimes, and the prophet Los is a builder in Blake's mythology. In all the epic things that Blake wrote, epic, poems that Blake wrote. Sometimes Blake identifies himself with Los. Los is a prophet who is also a builder and a blacksmith. So, so Blake is also a golden builder. And in his paintings, William Blake even shows Christ as a golden builder. So being a golden builder is something very important. And it's a big subject for William Blake and also for Sahaja Yoga, because
Yeah.
Shri Mataji was creating a house where the main theme of the house was building it with decorating it with gold. The whole house was covered in gold, and that
Wow.
sometimes it was real gold in that paint.
Gold leaf,
Yeah,
gold
even gold
leaf,
leaf, and some
and gilt,
there were
gilt.
particles of paint of gold
Yeah,
also in that paint. It was not false,
yeah,
not false gold.
And
It
this
was
house
yeah.
was
real
Brompton Square.
gold. So mother was creating that decoration, and William Blake talked so much about the golden builders, and about the particular locations. So let's see what Blake said about the golden builders. For
Yeah.
instance, it said here, what are those golden builders doing? That's a very important question. So, what are those golden builders? What are they doing? Of course, they are building the new Jerusalem, isn't it? This is the meaning within the epic Jerusalem.
Uh,
But then Blake goes and explains that. You see. So, what are those golden builders doing? Is that Calvary and Golgotha becoming a building of pity and compassion? Lo, the stones are pity, and the bricks well wrought affections, enameled with love and kindness, and the engraven gold, and the tiles engraven gold, labor of merciful hands. The beams and rafters are forgiveness, the mortar and cement of the work, tears of honesty. The nails and the screws and iron braces are well wrought blandishments, and well contrived words, firm fixing, never forgotten, always comforting the remembrance. The floors, humility, the ceilings, devotion, the hearts, thanksgiving. So Blake is explaining to us that while building us, while we are doing building, you are also building a spiritual body, and the building elements become imbued with spiritual qualities. So Blake has just told us that the stones become pity, the bricks well wrought affections, enameled with love and kindness. The tiles, they are engraven gold, labor of merciful hands. The beams and rafters is the same as forgiveness. The mortar and cement, tears of honesty. The nails and screws and iron braces, well wrought blandishments. The floors are humility, the ceilings devotion, the hearths thanksgiving. So Blake really explained this to see that going to a Sahaj project, working as a golden builder, as a Sahaj yogi, it's about doing spiritual work really, because people are going there to meet Sri Mataji and to get a total inner transformation. And
Yeah,
and the reason why they became golden is because they, with the sastrara being enlightened, it's as if we
mhm.
have a golden halo around our sastrara. So when William Blake painted Christ as a golden builder, because Christ was the son of a carpenter, so
Mm-hmm.
the
Right.
Christ was
Yeah.
the son of a builder.
Yeah.
So Blake paints Christ, holding the building tools in his hands, and
Mm-hmm.
then he
Mm.
has this golden halo, and the whole workshop becomes covered in gold, just like Mother's house at Brompton Square. So
Wow.
Christ was a golden builder. William
yeah,
Blake, as Loss, William Blake was also a golden builder. The Saj Yogis were a golden builder, and of course, then Blake says a few more things that tie up with Sahaja Yoga, because he gives the location of Mother's house in this first
yes,
poem. He
yes, yeah,
explains that it's behind Kensington by the Tyburn Brook. These are all clear
Mm.
yeah,
geographic,
Geo-
markers of the
mark,
Yeah.
actual location.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
And
a fact that the river Tyburn runs under Shrimataji's house. We don't see the river anymore because it has been culverted underground, but it's there. I mean, Mother says that once they had to open up the foundations, and there they could see the Tyburn Brook is still there. The sand, what was the ancient riverbed that once flew under that place.
Before. And
Yes.
when you were saying, so just to give some clarity, that so in those early years when we had Chelsham Road was the first house in a way, in a big house that needed a lot of building work. And so yogis came to work on it. And many yogis started who hadn't got previous experience. But Shri Mataji actually guided people and instructed people and gave advice on how to do plastering and how to do proper painting. At one point, I was in her house in Brompton Square. She would invite yogis to come because, of course, it was a special blessing to be in the house where Shri Mataji was living or going to live, the house of God, and just to be there near her. And I remember I was scraping some paint off a door arch, the door frame, and I was thinking, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing. But that's okay because I'm just here in Mother's house. And suddenly Mother appeared behind me and she goes, no, 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 you have to do it like this. And she showed me. And I went, okay, I have to do this properly, And it was very sweet, but that's how it was. And as you said, it was such an incredible blessing and such a way to develop a sense of collectivity, because you come together to work in the house, not as individuals, but as parts of the whole together. You are making, you are beautifying, making something special. And when you were reading Blake's words, that was so beautiful to hear and recognize the spiritual significance of these physical actions. And so often we forget the spiritual significance or symbolism, that what we do carries vibrations, and it may seem more mundane, but on a spiritual level, something deeper is working out. So I love the way that you've made, you've helped us understand the connections between his words and the actuality of what was happening. And then so many people learnt trades through working on Mother's houses, and that she said they should form a company and call themselves the Golden Builders.
Yes.
From then on, they became, in our time, we had this band of men, mostly, yes, it was men, although ladies also would come and work on the house, painting and things like that. And she said, yes, that you should call yourselves the Golden Builders. So
Yes, Shri Mataji was very open on that point. That William Blake, when he talked about the Golden Builders, he was actually giving a prophecy about Sahaja Yoga, in particular the gilding work that took place at our house in Brompton Square. Fine.
Yes.
So when Mother says that Blake prophesied about, the first place that she came to live in Oxted and Shelsham Road and Brompton Square,
Yeah.
Blake wrote that in plate 4 of Milton, a poem, plate 4. So it's very easy to find, it's page number 4 of the book Blake wrote called Milton, a poem. So again, if you only need to read 4 or 5 pages of that book and you come across that page where Blake explains that. And Sri Mataji knew these words, she was able to quote them in her lectures, It's amazing how well Mother knew these prophecies of William Blake, because she talks a lot about this in her talks and she knows the quotes by heart, although Sri Mataji often will give what they call a paraphrase, because by giving a paraphrase, she's explaining the meaning in simple words for us, Thank God that Mother paraphrases, because then the words become easier to understand. But the location where to find that is very simple to find. Plate 4 of Milton, a poem. And there it is.
That's good. Yeah. And
We already mentioned some of that, the location of Brompton Square. Here it is, across the gardens of Kensington, on Tyburn's Brook, It also says that the Surrey hills glow like the clinkers of the furnace. You see, this is also about the first place Mother went to live in Oxted. And then later it talks about Lambeth's Vale, where Jerusalem's foundations began. That is about Shelsham Road. where they were laid in ruins. That house was bombed by in the Second War, so that place was laid in ruins, where they were laid in ruins from every nation, because this was
World
it
War.
was a world war, so it was put into ruins from every nation. And then oak
Mhm.
groves rooted. This is the Saj yogis when they go and work there and living there. Suddenly, the kundalinis become like strong oaks, So oak groves then rooted later on. And then he's again talking about the first place mother came to, dark gleams before the furnace mouth, a heap of burning ashes. So this is the place where mother went to live in Oxted. That's the place where mother awoke the Kundalini of UK. So, initially mother, you know, raised the Kundalini of the country from Oxted. So that became like a furnace, because mother often gives this image of the awakening of the Kundalini is like a fire, is like a furnace.
Hmm.
And Blake used the same kind of symbol. You see, it's like the burning bush of Moses. That is the Kundalini. Mother explained that many times. When Moses saw the burning bush, he got a vision of the Kundalini, because that burning is a symbol of the Kundalini. The Kundalini looks like fire.
Yeah.
And then again, it says, "When shall Jerusalem return and overspread all nations?" This is also again, the returning to Lambeth's Vale, or building of human souls. You see, this is another thing about the golden builders. Return to Lambeth's Vale, or building of human souls, because the
Mm.
golden builders are actually building human souls. That's the whole point. It's a spiritual exercise.
Yeah.
So
And so,
in just 12 lines of poetry, which Mother often quotes or paraphrases, Blake mentions three properties, three residences of Sahaj: the first ashram, the first official ashram,
Yeah.
the first place where Mother lived in Oxted, and
Mm.
also the house of Brompton Square. So it's very
Mm.
precise. This is why Mother says that William Blake is the most precise prophet of Sahaja
Hmm.
Yoga. And the proof is there in writing. Is not We don't need to believe. We can read it and then study it and see where is it now we have to look at the maps. Or for us who lived in London at that time, we've been there, we've seen the places, we don't need the
yes,
maps. But
yes.
some people
And
might need the maps if they've never been.
And also to mention that Chelsham Road is in the I can't think, the district of Lambeth. Lambeth,
Yes,
it's called
yes,
Lambeth
Yes.
exactly.
Vale, Lambeth Way. It's not changed since Blake's time. It still bears the same name. And when we had that first puja in Chelsham Road, so this was the first. So this was bought by yogis to be a proper ashram, to be for Sahaja Yoga. There had been previous ashrams which had just been rental places, short term, and Chelsham Road, as we know, is still there today. And
Yes.
when we had the first puja, at the end of the first puja, Mother said, "This is the first time in the history of mankind that there has been a temple dedicated to a living incarnation, to a living deity, her,
Wow.
a living
Mm.
goddess, you know."
Amazing.
And that, can you imagine just being there and hearing her say this?
Yeah.
This is the first time in the history of mankind that we have a temple dedicated to a living divine being, a living divine being. And whoa, it was just like, whoa,
Amazing.
so
Amazing.
beautiful. Do you think this is a suitable point to move on to the next book that we were going to talk about, the prophecy,
Absolutely, absolutely.
Virgil?
Yes.
So we'll look. So you're going to invite you to talk about why you made this book, or why you picked these paintings to put. Yes, tell us about what is Virgil's Eclogue, and how did Mother inspire you to put this together?
Yes. So in that visit to the Tate Gallery to see Blake's paintings, I already said that Shri Mataji read the curator notes for each and every painting and checked the vibrations of every painting. But then there was also a glass cabinet with some very tiny um, engravings, black and white. I think the size of those engravings is tiny. I mean, the height is 3.5 centimeters. and the length is approximately 7.5 centimeters. So this is very tiny
Wow.
engravings, and because they are at the bottom of a glass cabinet, it's really hard to see it. But Shri Mataji spent a long time looking at those engravings, and she had to bend down towards the cabinet, and she was putting a face right against, the glass of that cabinet, and the engravings were further down at the bottom of the cabinet. And Mother kept saying, "This is amazing, extraordinary vibrations, incredible vibrations. How incredible, you see." And I remember feeling astounded, I can hardly see this. And Mother
Mm.
somehow, with her sharp eyes, she can see it and see the vibrations and understand it, And again, she's saying this is, about Sahaja Yoga, So
Mhm.
how incredible. So this raises the curiosity, what is this about, these engravings, after all, most people don't know what they are about because often they appear in the books without the dialogues, because William Blake is illustrating a dialogue. You see, it's a form of poetry which consists of a dialogue. And if you look at the paintings or the engravings in this case, without the dialogues that Blake is illustrating, then it's impossible to understand.
So by
So
dialogue, when you say dialogue, you mean that there are words, that there are
there are
words.
words. A dialogue is usually a conversation between two people. In this case, it's between the guru and the disciple. So that's the dialogue.
All right.
And this is done in poetry by a very ancient Roman poet, which was the top Roman poet of all times, and Blake is illustrating that poem.
Not this picture. Maybe we can show. You have beside you. This is the cover, which shows one of them.
Yes, this is the book.
So if you move, so what Uncle Lewis has done is enlarged each of these engravings and put the dialogue with them, so we can now see and read the complete thing. So in the beginning, you've got this. We can just quickly scroll through. You've got this lovely introduction, Blake's glasses, explanation about the book, a bit about Virgil, the background, the context of this book, and then you put these beautiful again about the prophet, the guru, the patriarch, and the next one shows, I think, a little bit about Abraham Lincoln. You're talking about
Divine
then
Mother.
the image of the Divine Mother. We'll come back to this one, and then I love the way this actually. Yes, the it's a little bit different in the book, and then you come into the beginning of the Eclogue. So you could just show through. Would you like to wait? Go back one. Would you like to talk about this? You wanted to talk about this painting and this engraving
Yes,
in particular.
I mean, this
Lewis.
engraving was considered the most influential engraving that Blake ever made. This is the most influential piece of art that Blake made because it influenced a group of people. And still today, there are painters who follow this style. So this has been very influential. And at the time, it was very avant-garde. This was a style of art that nobody had seen, before. So the people were really connoisseurs, art connoisseurs, and painters, and also printers. They all understood immediately that this was something extraordinary, something out completely new, so creative, so innovative, that still today people are inspired by this particular painting, this one in particular. There's a second one there that is still inspiring people to do art today. So you can see that Mother is a top connoisseur. Mother had exactly the same instinctive, understanding of this art to know that this is something extraordinary. Now, even some Blake scholars, they are great admirers of Blake. They may write sometimes in their books that these engravings are a little bit overrated. You see, this is the opinion of some intellectuals. But the opinion of the true artists, the people who really know art, people like Mother and those people were the disciples of William Blake, they all felt this. They had seen everything Blake painted, and they chose this as the highest thing that Blake did. To them, this was the highest. We may find that that's a bit strange because it's so dark, so tiny, so rough because it was, Blake used to do things on a copper plate, and for
Uh-huh.
once he had to do some engraving on wood. So
Mhm.
this was not the best quality,
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
work that Blake could do. But in terms of creativity, this was the highest.
Hmm.
It's good to know that Mother is also a great admirer of these engravings. So it felt that it was appropriate to somehow, share them with the new people in Sahaj Yoga, and to try and show the meaning in the light of Sahaj Yoga. So that was the attempt we're doing with this book.
Shall we
100%.
just scroll through, Rohan? Just scroll
Yes.
through a little bit, then we'll see a little bit. This is about his journey. It's interesting to see the black and white. Yes, just scroll all the way through. So it's got the dialogue underneath. So it's a whole story. It's telling the
Yeah.
story.
In detail in the book. So, I mean, for people who are interested, I mean, do
Yeah,
look
no,
at the book, and
I was
it's
surprised
such amazing.
when I
Mhm.
read the book myself, just how interesting it was, and it was so nice to follow the story and to see also the original, how he did some rough pencil drawings or light
Yeah.
watercolor first before he did
Yeah.
the engraving, so you could see a little bit of the process
Hmm.
of his
Mhm.
inspiration and his work.
Yeah.
I loved your introductory pieces. I loved all the words, the different, you bring such a knowledge and background context to all
Absolutely.
these paintings and this
Mhm.
work. Is there
I
is
think we
it,
need more podcasts just to cover, what Uncle has to,
yeah.
give to us, because
Yeah.
he's
Many
done so
is
years
much
of work.
research,
is
like
there
in depth.
is there
Like,
one more thing
in a
you
way,
would,
he's dedicated his whole life into,
Yeah.
writing about like connecting Sahaj and Blake together. I mean, it's phenomenal.
And you can feel that in it in every one of these
Absolutely,
works.
absolutely,
Yeah.
100%,
can I suggest that,
absolutely.
is there one more? I think we have time to do Comus today, but Louis,
Yes, I
um
would like to say that,
we,
my feeling when when writing something about William Blake will always be the same, that I have not been able to do justice to the subject,
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
I'm just, scratching the surface. This subject is infinite, and maybe in a next life, who knows, I might be able to do a bit
Yeah.
better, but in this life, I've only been able to scratch the surface of the subject, and I often feel that I've not done real justice to this subject. That William Blake really is a prophet of Sahaja Yoga,
Hmm.
and a very important prophet of Sahaja Yoga. And this is something for all of us Sahaja yogis to try and communicate to the new people. It's
could,
not
Absolutely.
it's not a job for one person. I mean, Mother did this
Mm.
job herself, because the amount of times Mother talked about William Blake in the public talks, it's quite amazing. Even in not just in England, wherever she went, she always
Yeah,
talked
that's
about
true.
William Blake.
Yeah.
So it is a difficult task. It's a big task. It will take many people to do full justice to this subject. I could only do a tiny little bit.
Yeah. For anyone interested in contributing, they can contact Uncle directly. Would be really appreciated. If anyone wants to help in any way or know something more about William Blake or something, they can contact Uncle for sure.
so there are more gems that we
Yes,
haven't covered
we are
today,
not
but
finishing yet.
there are more gems within Virgil's Eclogue to be. So let's hope everybody will enjoy. And certainly, it was a lovely surprise to me to find this book. Thank you. You only just published it. It's only just come out. So now,
Although it was written more than 10 years ago,
Hmm.
it's
Uh,
been
the
it's been waiting a
process,
long time.
yes, the process from book to print to publish,
Exactly,
is,
because
it
Takes
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 time.
time. It's coming
in those
to.
in those days we were doing slideshows. So this
Yeah.
came into being as a slideshow. It was
Yeah.
shown to the Blake Society several times without mentioning Sahaj too much, because
Yeah.
they did not allow me to
It's
mention
okay.
Sahaj far. I could only mention Sahaj a little bit. That was my
Mhm.
instructions. But and then there was a Sahaj version for the Sahaj yogis where we have
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
Sahaj styles. So this has been in our computers, for many years, more than
A
10,
long
15 years. Yes,
a project, a long time in the making.
waiting for a chance maybe to turn it into a little booklet, but I needed some help, and I don't know how Richard Payment came along, and he's an artist, and that makes a difference. And he's very experienced in the field of art. That's one of his specialties, and the editing and publishing. And he's an artist, so he was the ideal person to give a help to this project,
Yes.
to turn a PDF into a beautiful book. It's
Yeah.
it's a
It is a
different
work of
process.
art.
Well, one artist can find another one easily,
Yes.
Yes, yes. So
Recognize.
Richard
So
came
this is a
along at
nice.
the right time, and many thanks to Felicity, because he also kept telling me for about 3 or 4 years, "Why don't you turn this into books? Richard
Yeah.
might be able to help." And I used
Yes.
to say, "Well, I mean, I'm busy, I'm a bit busy right now. I don't know if you can overcome the copyright difficulties
Yeah.
because,
Well, we'll talk about those a little bit. That issue we'll talk about a little bit later.
in the
But
next episode, for
that's a
sure.
nice segue into Comus, because the Comus
Yes.
book really is an artistic. It really showcases Blake's artistry in his watercolor
Yeah,
painting.
it's tremendously
So
beautiful.
the book about Comus, a mask. So this was a traditional play, a traditional English play, and then John Milton, the poet John Milton, was commissioned to write this play called Comus, a mask. And
Wow.
then much later, William Blake was asked to illustrate that play. So it's a traditional play that had been in existence before John Milton, wrote it down. It was popular, and then John Milton wrote it very beautifully. And much later, William Blake was asked to create the illustrations for this play. It's called The Mask, and William Blake was asked to do it twice, because it was so beautiful that when people saw it, they said, "Oh, can I have one also as well? Make one for me." So Blake did the second one, and Blake, being Blake, he never copies, So if the second one is slightly different, so it's interesting to compare both sets, because they are slightly different.
and you
Yeah.
can see this, Rohan. Rohan, if you show, there's two pictures which are you can if you not this one. We'll come back. Yes, so this was the first. I think this is the first edition, and then the next picture. Yes, so you can see, as Uncle says, similar. And you can go back again.
Yeah.
So, but same, but different style, slightly different style.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so in the book, Uncle, you have put side by side the first edition and then the second one, so
And the
we can
second
see the comparison all the way through the book of the different painting styles, which is nice.
So this is a subject that Shri Mataji explained to us, about the Sahaj motifs in William Blake's paintings. This is something that Blake does all the time. You see the motif of the hand above the Sahasrara, or sometimes there are other Sahaj motifs like the spirals of the Kundalini, or could be the Bandhan shape, or the three channels of the subtle system also appear a lot in Blake's paintings, So, or the hands feeling the vibrations, the hands giving vibrations. So there are many. The chakras itself also appear in Blake's paintings, the deities. So William Blake likes to put lots of Sahaj motifs in his paintings, and this is precisely something that Sri Mataji spent a long time teaching us on that occasion with the book of William Blake. In each painting, Sri Mataji showed us the Sahaj motifs.
So
Yeah.
the
So this is
next
not
painting this one, yes, so this one this one, I know you said to us, Shri Mataji specifically explained each of the tell us about this painting.
yes. So this painting, there are many elements here that Sri Mataji explained. I think you have a letter A there. in this painting. Can you see the A, the big A? That is
Yes.
like the vortex of the Kundalini, or the Adi Kundalini. That's what Shri
Yeah.
Mataji said this was, the Adi Kundalini.
Mm.
And then above the Adi Kundalini, you have a lady with a crown. And officially, this is Beatrice, but Mother said she's a representation of the seeker's individual Kundalini. So she's the individual Kundalini of each seeker.
Hmm.
And in this case, the seeker in question is Dante, the poet who, who wrote the Divine Comedy. So here Blake is illustrating a certain aspect of the Divine Comedy. His name is Dante. I think
Yeah.
you have the letter C there, or do you have the letter D? Depends. I cannot quite see.
It's
Oh
C.
yes, you have the letter
See.
C. Okay, so
Yeah.
you
Yes.
have this version of the book.
Yeah.
There are several versions of this book. So the letter C is Dante, the seeker of truth, and
Yeah.
B is Beatrice, which is the seeker's Kundalini,
Yeah.
and the three ladies at the bottom of the painting. These are the three aspects of is Mahalakshmi, Mahasarasvati, and Mahakali. You see, so Mother identified those three elements as well.
In the green, red, and white.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
One is
Yeah.
green, the other one is red. That's Mahalakshmi.
Yeah.
The green one is Mahakali, and the one in white with the book is Mahasarasvati. So Mother
Mahasaraswati.
identified those as well. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, you can see Christ with number 4. We can see the
Yeah.
one in the shape of the bull. That is one of the aspects of Sri Bhairava. He also appears as a bull sometimes, So that's number
Mm-hmm.
3. You can see the number 1. You can see Sri Garuda there, and then you have
Garuda. Yeah.
the one there that looks like, looks a little bit like Sri Hanuman, although it also looks like a lion. So it's a bit.
Number
It's
two, you're saying?
number 2. You could
Yeah.
say looks a little bit. Is looks like a Hanumana. You see,
Yeah. Yeah.
it could also look like a lion. So,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes the same symbol has different meanings. So,
Yeah.
and the big Griffin, pulling the
Mm-hmm.
car. That's of course one aspect of Sri Garuda also. You
Yeah.
know, the
You know,
vehicle there.
it's what's so incredible is that, I think we hear Mother say he was an incarnation of Sri Bhairava. So Sri Bhairava is the whole divine principle of the left side. So all the knowledge, all the divine knowledge, he has access to. This human incarnation has access to all the pure knowledge of the divine. And as we know, he had visions, he saw angels, he saw manifestations of the divine in his daily life that we can't see. And Mother said, every word, every painting is truth. Every word he wrote is truth. And so it's like he was this incredible instrument, this vehicle to link us with the divine in the divine world in a physical manifestation. He could show us in a pictorial, visual form what he could see, what actually existed,
Yeah.
what is reality. So his paintings of the angels, this is actual, it's not just his imagination. This is divinity. This is the heavenly world, and he was that pure instrument that could just, I mean, what an incredible gift to mankind. What an incredible being, a divine being, that the divine created this being who could channel, and this incredible beauty and knowledge. And so often we associate negative emotions and things with the left side, but he completely personifies the positivity, the joy, the beauty, the creativity of the left side. And through your books, you've enabled us to, by bringing together and recreating his books that he made, you've enabled us to make those connections on such a deeper level.
Thank you very much. I mean, all credit goes to William Blake. In fact, these are the paintings of William Blake,
Yes,
and all credit goes to Shri Mataji, because if she
Mhm.
had not talked to us about William Blake, we would not be here talking about William Blake now.
Yeah,
It's
no,
only
it's
thanks
true.
to how
Yeah.
much Shri Mataji has taught us about William Blake. It's all in her talks. I mean, I don't think Mother taught me anything that is not in her talks.
Mm.
Everything Mother told
Mhm.
me, you will find it's there somewhere in the talks of Mother.
Mm.
So it's not as if I have any special, unique knowledge that other people don't have. I mean, of course, one has to read Mother's talks, study them. It's there, everything Mother said, and more, because there are so many talks of Mother I've not been able to listen to yet, or read the transcripts. But about this painting, it was Graham Pottinger. He told me that Mother told him, so this is second or third hand knowledge, but Mother told him this is just how it is. When Mother showed this painting to Graham, or Graham showed the book to Mother, and asked Mother about this painting, Mother looked at it and she said, "This is just how it is." So
Mm.
according to Mother, this is a true vision of the reality of the spiritual life. So it's great that Mother explains so much to all of us about William Blake. Otherwise, it would
Mhm.
be impossible for us to understand the connection with the Sahaja Yoga.
And you put this painting into this book, into the Comus book, which was such a lovely surprise to find it, inside before the actual play and the paintings. Before we read those, was so nice. That was such a beautiful sharing. So much,
Absolutely.
so much to
Anything
come
else,
out.
Uncle, you want to
But
add about the book
I
or
think
something there?
uh, on this book, perhaps I don't know if I'm jumping to the end. We
Mm-hmm.
have here a Sahaj workshop. Usually we like
Oh
to look at
yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah. That's fun to look at if we have that
you know.
picture
Yes.
I
available.
mean,
Which page
this
Which
number?
page? Which page would you like us to look at?
I'm on page 19,
Page 19.
but it may be different on your book, the one you have there. You see,
Just a
these are
second.
either this painting or this one. Both of them are a Sahaj workshop.
Is it this?
Yeah, this is one of them. So
Uh,
I don't know if you can.
please.
Oh no, go
Eh,
back, go back,
Yes,
Yeah,
that's fine. Those are good.
yeah. I love the first one you showed, Rohan.
This one?
That's
That's
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
let's
Yeah,
start
yeah.
with
That's
this
the
one. Yes.
Yes.
So if you can make it bigger, I don't know if you can, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
people can see
yeah.
it. Yes.
Perfect.
So I mean, this looks just like a Sahaj workshop, and
Yeah, I love this.
if you read the words that Blake is illustrating, because here Blake is illustrating the play from Milton. The situation here is that there is a lady, an innocent lady that was put in a magic spell by an evil person. So the lady is totally innocent, but she was attacked by a false guru. And so now she's frozen into a statue, like a stone
Mm-hmm.
statue. She cannot even move. And so you see the figure on the left with the hand towards the sky.
Yeah.
So that is the Archangel Saint Michael, and the Archangel Saint Michael invoked the presence of the goddess Sabrina. The goddess Sabrina is the goddess of the river Severn,
Hmm.
and because only she can break the spell, and she does that by sprinkling the holy water on top of the lady over the Sastrara in order to break that spell. So this is all symbolic of self-realization, where
So
the
amazing.
that divine water is the water of the Holy Spirit.
Hmm.
And the presence of the Archangel Saint Michael is very important in that play
Yeah.
of Comus. And then you have the brothers of the lady are there behind her. They're also helping. And
Hmm.
the goddess comes with some attendants, the nymphs of the river.
Mm-hmm.
And above that, if you see there's a kind of a background noise. I don't know if you hear that. I'm having some background problem.
No, it's okay. Keep going. It's all
Is
right.
that
It's not.
okay? Okay, so you can see also the three channels of the inner subtle system represented by the three trunks of the trees. Mother made explained that point very often, that Blake likes to put three channels in the paintings, disguise there's trees or columns or any way he can disguise. So the three channels are there, and behind the three channels you see the sastrar is opening, the collective sastrar is opening. All that wave of light. So this looks like a Sahaj workshop, and if you read the text that Blake is illustrating, yes, the subject matter is the same. Now, if you go to the painting just after this one, sorry, just before the one you are watching, just before, sorry, the one before, no, you went too fast, sorry. There, here. Oh, one with the rainbow, the one with the rainbow, that one. You see, this is another version of the same painting. But in this case, instead of having the three channels of the inner subtle system, we have the rainbow, you see, and above the rainbow is a symbol also of Adi Shakti, it's a symbol of Sahaja Yoga also, that
like a
rainbow,
bandhan.
and it's the bandhan, and above it you can see the sastara opening, So
Above
this
the
is the
rainbow.
same, it's exactly the same painting, but a different version of the same. So Blake here used different symbols of Sahaja Yoga.
It's so
But
amazing.
that's
I've never
something.
seen
And
these
then if you go to
films.
the next ones, after these ones, yes, here again you can see a kind of in the story as it goes, the lady now is being brought back to the parents, and you see the parents are looking at her hands, and they're talking about vibratory awareness on the hands. The brothers are also feeling the vibrations on the hands.
Yeah.
And Archangel Saint Michael is giving realization now to the brothers of the innocent lady. So everybody in this picture is feeling the vibrations on their hands. It's all about feeling. This is the prophecy of the Prophet Muhammad also, which is about Sahaja Yoga. That at the time of the Last Judgment, at the time of Qiyamah, they call it in the Quran, they call it Qiyamah, the time of the Last Judgment, our hands will speak. And Mother explains this in many talks. So this vibratory awareness that we feel on our hands is something that was prophesied, and it's a prophecy about Sahaja Yoga by the Prophet Muhammad. And here William Blake is giving an illustration of that. Through this play, Blake was able to show us, look at the vibratory awareness, the hands speaking, the hands are acting also. The hands act on our inner system. The hands can raise our Kundalini. So it's all that aspect of Sahaja Yoga that Blake is illustrating. So these are all those very minute details that show what a precise prophet of Sahaja Yoga Blake is. That is one of the main conclusion Mother gave us. Blake is a very precise prophet of Sahaja Yoga, and he makes it very easy, even for new people in Sahaj, to see clearly that his paintings are actually about Sahaja Yoga, about giving realization, about collective self-realization, about all those aspects.
So thank you so much. I feel really. I'm getting an echo.
Oh, you've been very kind and very patient. I apologize if I speak too much.
No,
And
no, no,
It's
no,
been a
no.
pleasure, Uncle.
It was very, very beautiful. It's so lovely to hear you speak and explain. Rishi, do you have you had something to share as we
I
come to
mean,
a close?
we've kind of already talked about it, that with this work, Uncle is bringing us closer and closer to William Blake, and as all Saj Yogis know, William Blake, as we are taught, is an incarnation, and so we should feel that same closeness to him that we do with Sri Rama or Sri Krishna or anything. And Uncle has made that possible for us. And this whole conversation reminds me of one poem by Walt Whitman, a poem that we have in America. And it's a very, very small poem of his called Poets to Come. And in there, he's addressing the realized soul. And he's saying that, oh, poets to come, musicians, singers to come, in the future, it is your job to justify me.
Mhm.
And so in that way, it's like Sahaja Yogis they are destined to justify all of the saints and all the prophecies that have been said, and bring them out, bring the spirituality out, and have these poets, their voices, have the poets' voices completely, like, truly said and truly expressed. And I feel like, Uncle, your work has really started this off, and it inspires me to do the same for whatever I'm inspired to do.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. It's very kind
Thank
words,
you.
and thank you for your time and patience with.
Thank you to you, Uncle, for coming and
We look we
bearing
look
with us
forward
for a long time.
we look forward to part 2, another session with
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
you with different
Thank
books.
you. Thank you
Share
for
more.
inviting. I look forward to meeting you again, and I learned a lot today from the things you're saying as well. I'm glad you shared your experiences too.
Hmm. All right. Jai Shri Mataji. Jai Shri Mataji,
Jai
everyone.
Shri Mataji.
Yes.